Protein bars, it is a controversial topic. They could save your life, make you a bajillionaire. They could also kill you, your whole family, and overwrite your Minecraft save file that you've had for like 7 years. It's a controversial topic, and there's a lot of controversial opinions. So today, you, yes, you, and me, yes, me, are gonna get our hands a bit dirty and get some real information about this. Journalism is not dead as long as I'm here. Real boots underground journalism. Apologies if the cars are like really fucking loud, but also it's not my fault, so I'm not sorry. Actually, I got a protein bar and I got a not protein bar. I'm gonna do a wee macro comparison. No, believe it or not, the protein bar here has actually got more calories than the regular ass chocolate bar, 206 for 186. What the fuck? Well, because this is literally 20 grams bigger. I forget the exact maths, but this is like 3 point something calories per gram, and this is 5 point something calories per gram, so kind of no-brainer. Typically, like a protein bar is around, 200, 230 mark. It depends what brand you're getting. This one is from Fulfill, and Fulfill bars are typically around like 200, 210 calories for a bar. Grenade also is pretty popular where I'm from, and they're like 220, 230 with like 20 to 22 grams of protein per bar typically. This bad boy, as I said, 206 calories and also 20 grams of protein and 17 grams of carbs. 1.2 grams from sugars. That is an important distinction because this bad boy here is 186 calories, as I said, basically no protein. I'm not even going to bother fucking reading it, but 20 grams of carbs, 19 of which are from sugar. So that means that while this bar does have like carbs, obviously, most of it's coming from starches, fiber, not sugar. So the daily recommended allowance for added sugar for a woman is 24 grams. I forget what it is for a man. I think it's like 30 something. This is most of that for me. I would literally be wasting most of my daily sugar on a fuck-ass Maltesers bar. And I think that's like the biggest difference that needs to be kept in mind with protein bars versus regular bars, because like obviously the protein bar has more protein. It's literally in the name. But something that like does not get mentioned, that really gets overlooked, is the sugars. Chomp time. Protein bars get a lot of disrespect for being chewy. I love chewy food anyway. Shout out fucking chewy food. And also, I love a good protein bar. So this is my winner. Okay, so I found this article that might just be a collection of some of the dumbest stuff I've ever heard. And I used to work a fast food job. I've heard a lot of dumb stuff, okay? But turns out like a lot of the points that I wanted to make are in this article. So let's get straight to some good old-fashioned debunking. So this article from Human Food Bar is specifically coming for Quest bars and why they're like objectively bad for your health. I am going to take what they're saying for protein bars in general as well though. Point number 1 is that they have artificial sweeteners, and this is bad because artificial sweeteners have been linked to weight gain, increased risk of type 2 diabetes, and increased risk of certain types of cancer. I am going to talk more about the artificial sweeteners in a few minutes, so I'm just going to give you the spark notes for now. I really dislike when any article says that X food causes weight gain. Like, yes, Quest bars with artificial sweeteners can cause weight gain. So can cucumber. Weight gain is caused by being in a calorie surplus, and you watching this probably know that. But a lot of people who don't know anything about weight and nutrition or anything like that will see this and think, oh, these specific bars, this specific type of food will cause weight gain. And I know this because I've literally heard people fall for it. Protein bars and artificial sweeteners can contribute to weight gain if you eat them in a calorie surplus. They can contribute to weight loss if you eat them in a calorie deficit. And this article not elaborating on this point, and any article that doesn't elaborate on this point, just feels so deceptive to me. As for increased risk of type 2 diabetes, the research on this is far from conclusive. Some studies say there is a link, some studies say there isn't. There could even be a reverse causality kind of thing, where people with diabetes want to eat less sugar, so they eat things with artificial sweeteners instead of sugar. But on paper, it looks like people with diabetes are eating things with artificial sugars, so there must be some sort of correlation. And as for causing certain types of cancer, once again, there's no concrete evidence of this. There's even an article I found that says that artificial sweeteners don't cause certain types of cancers, like they are not linked to specific I don't remember the specific types of cancers, but I will throw it on screen. Maybe someday we will find proof that artificial sweeteners do contribute to cancer, so that there is some link there. But as of right now, like, you cannot factually say that artificial sweeteners contribute to cancer. Okay, point number 2 is nowhere near as bad. It's that these bars are high in processed proteins, and that is bad because it can be difficult to digest, and whey isolate, which is what Quest uses, can cause gut inflammation, which, yeah, I mean, that's true. I'll give them that one. Okay, point number 3 goes hand in hand with this. It's that they're full of additives and preservatives, which can cause issues with digestion and contribute to weight gain. Okay, yes, additives and preservatives can cause issues with digestion. They can cause bloating, cramping, shitting and farting. As for the weight gain, literally what did I just say? Protein bars with their additives and their preservatives and all that, yeah, they are not as filling, they are not as nutritious as whole foods. Calorie surplus is what causes weight gain. If you eat these in a calorie surplus, you will gain weight, otherwise you won't. Point number 4 is real similar. It's that they're high in sugar, alcohol, some more digestive issues, and, quote, 0-calorie sweeteners can make you fat. I can't believe how many times I've said this in such a short amount of time. A calorie surplus is the answer here. Not any specific sweetener, not any specific additive or preservative. Sure, they're not great, but a calorie surplus is what causes weight gain and fat gain. Right now, I am actually on a bulk and I eat protein bars with their sugar, alcohols, and their additives and their preservatives, and I'm gaining mostly muscle. Previously, I was on a calorie deficit and I ate protein bars with their sugar, alcohols, and their additives and their preservatives, and I lost weight. What? It's because that it's calories in, calories out. I think this is the last time this dumbass article mentioned something about weight gain though. Thank God. Somehow, this article gets worse, okay? Because point number 5 is that whey isolate will make you go bald. The article they link to back up their statement that whey isolate will make you go bald concludes that whey isolate will not make you go bald. What the fuck? The study says that if you are already struggling with hair loss, whey isolate could potentially accelerate that. It could also potentially help hair growth and regrowth, which is like the most inconclusive conclusion ever. For the record, I'm not saying inconclusive conclusions like this, that study. Inconclusive conclusions are like normal in science. It's not a bad thing necessarily. It just means that whatever topic needs a bit more research into it. But I cannot emphasize enough how stupid this human food bar article is, because how are you going to make a claim and then the thing you use to back up that claim, it's against your claim? What the fuck are we doing? Okay, number 6 is that Quest bars and protein bars in general are expensive, and yeah, protein bars are expensive. But this brand's bars are actually more expensive. Did I mention that? This brand sells their own bars. Oh, and did I mention this article is written by the founder of the brand? We will be coming back to their bars, by the way, not just yet though, because there's one more point they make. Finally, point number 7 is that the Quest bars are not low carb, and there actually was a carb-related lawsuit brought against Quest over a decade ago. I don't know for sure when this article was published, but there is a linked video on YouTube from a year ago, which is still after the relevant Quest lawsuit. Long story short, one of the fibers used in Quest bars was being counted as fully non-digestible, but the lawsuit argued that it was partially digestible, so it wasn't being counted in net carbs, but the lawsuit argued that it should be counted in net carbs. This lawsuit was thrown out. Now, when a lawsuit against a company is thrown out, I will never take that to mean the company is automatically innocent, because these companies have a lot of resources and really good lawyers. So you do have to take a look at the case and decide, are they actually innocent in this situation? And the point that this article makes about Quest not being low carb is technically correct. And in my opinion, Quest was very much in the wrong with this case. But the way this article presents that information is really misleading and leaves out a lot of context. Also, this article makes a point about them tasting bad, but that is purely subjective. And also, if you want to critique the health of a food, why would you go for the taste? That's really stupid. Like, I don't like the taste of cottage cheese. Does that mean it's less healthy? No, it just means I don't like the taste of cottage cheese. This is like if I went to try and critique like some really horrible person and just started talking about how ugly they are instead of explaining why they're a horrible person and proving that point. It's a moot fucking point if we're talking health. This article also complains about Quest bars being high in calories. So what do you say we do a little macro comparison, and what do you know? Both of these brands have a blueberry muffin flavored bar. The Quest bar is lower in calories, higher in protein, obviously, lower in fat, higher in fiber, and has the same total carbs. Are we fucking serious right now? And I went through both of these websites. All of the regular Quest bars seem to range from 170 to like 200 to 210 calories a bar, whereas all of the human food bars are over 200. If I recall correctly, the lowest one I saw was either 210 or 220. They're all over 200 calories. This entire article written by the founder of this company is, in my opinion, a misleading scare tactic meant to convince you to give your money to them instead of some other guy. The human food bar does have more natural ingredients, so if that's a big deal to you, you like your whole foods and all that, then maybe you should try these bars. Maybe you should give these guys your money. They do look quite tasty. They don't necessarily have bad macros. Like, they're definitely not bad macros, and I would probably like the taste of them, to be honest, if my introduction to them wasn't so awful. And I would like to let the record show I am not a Quest White Knight. I've never even had a Quest bar. I don't think they're for sale in my country. Okay, fine, I'll bite into artificial sweeteners. And before I get bean soup, yes, I am aware that there's a certain percent of the population who cannot have artificial sweeteners due to medical reasons. If you've got PKU, my condolences that you can't have a Diet Coke, because I love that stuff. Artificial sweeteners are honestly borderline miraculous. They're not even usually that much lower calorie than sugar, they're just way sweeter. I mean, like 200 times sweeter, or 600 times sweeter, or 20,000 times sweeter, which is almost as sweet as me. So you need way less of the artificial sweetener than you do for sugar. This makes them really great for weight management because they are so low calorie. They can also be helpful for diabetics because artificial sweeteners don't raise your blood sugar, so they're good for blood sugar control. Most artificial sweeteners, unlike sugar, are non-fermentable, which means that they don't contribute to tooth decay the same way that regular sugar does. And they can help you reduce your sugar intake. I said earlier that there's a limit to how much added sugar you can have in a day. For women, it's 24 grams. For men, I think it's 35. So if you replace a teaspoon of sugar in your coffee with a teaspoon of sweetener instead, could be a good idea for you. But do they cause cancer? No, probably not. My apologies for how bad I am at pronouncing stuff. I swear I can look up the pronunciation of stuff. It just does not stick, so bear with me. Now, to be fair, saccharin did cause bladder cancer in rats. And we're not rats, so it turns out that doesn't apply to us. Okay, I don't want to say that study was debunked, because it wasn't debunked per se, but the results of that study were proven non-applicable to humans. So the study was not debunked, actually. What am I talking about? It's not applicable to us. Artificial sweeteners are possible carcinogens. So are pickles. The term possible carcinogen sounds so much scarier than it actually is. The term possible carcinogen only really means that something could potentially cause cancer or have some links to cancer, but the human research and even the animal research is really, really limited and pretty fucking inconclusive. So, for example, this study did in fact find a link between artificial sweeteners and cancer risks. And this one here found the opposite, that there's no strong correlation here. So, like, the wildly accepted scientific opinion is that there is no strong, solid evidence that artificial sweeteners do cause cancer in humans. And even with studies who do find a link, it's unclear if it's causation versus correlation versus reverse causality. What's next on the chopping block? Cardiovascular disease, and it's actually a really pretty similar story. The evidence for artificial sweeteners causing cardiovascular disease is, once again, very limited, although it is a little bit more conclusive than the evidence for them causing cancer. The best source for this seems to be this Nutrinet Sant, I think it's Sant, it's French, so I'm going to say Sant, study that did find a link between artificial sweeteners and cardiovascular disease, but the highest consumers of the artificial sweeteners in this study were also more likely to smoke, have a higher BMI, be less active, and have a higher sodium, red meat, and processed meat intake. So it's not like artificial sweeteners were the only things in their lives that could be contributing to cardiovascular disease. The study actually seems to be done really well. There's a big time frame, there's a fuck ton of participants, but this is still just one study in a sea of ginormous studies that found possibilities of a link, but still not conclusive evidence. And once again, there's the possibility of reverse causality over here. One thing I hear a lot in this type of conversation is your gut health, your gut microbiome. Your gut's going to get gutted. So there are animal studies showing negative effects on animals. And it looks like in this particular study over here, artificial sweeteners given to mice reduced beneficial gut bacteria and started making them a little bit gluten intolerant. You do have to pay for full access to the article, so I could be totally off mark here, but I guess we'll never know. I spent all my money on protein powder and now I am broke, but I get paid tomorrow as I'm recording this. Thank God, I'm so broke right now. So artificial sweeteners could very well be bad for our gut health, and they can definitely cause digestion issues like backing up the back door or absolute explosive shitting. It's like the worst game I've read at 50-50. But the biggest thing to keep in mind here, the dose is the poison. I can safely have 11 or 12 cans of Diet Coke a day. I'm not gonna. That would be a bit insane, but that's perfectly safe for me. All right, now I am not endorsing eating piles of artificial sweeteners, just pure sucralose or whatever by the ladle, right? Everything in moderation. But unless you've got some big outstanding medical reason, you can have some artificial sweeteners. Just have them in moderation. And remember, artificial sweeteners are the alternative to sugar. And sugar's not that great for you. Excess sugar intake is also being linked to cancer and cardiovascular disease and issues with your gut health. Just have your shit in moderation, okay? You can have sugar, you can have added sugar, you can have artificial sweeteners. Don't overdo it. I know, that's so insightful. Literally, who has ever said that before? I'm such a revolutionary. So aside from all the artificial sweeteners, the most controversial thing about a protein bar is probably the ultra-processed protein. But here's the thing. Yes, it's ultra-processed, but it's still protein. Assuming it's a whole protein and not like collagen or something, your body's still going to take it as protein. Protein is protein, your body's going to still take it and, build muscle and do whatever else you use protein for. I don't know what else protein's used for. I don't really give a shit. All we care about over here is the muscle. So if this bar has real protein and minimal sugar and pretty good macros, you're getting quite a bit of protein for your calories. Does that mean that this is healthy? No. No, it does not. I know I've all but glazed protein bars and everything about them this entire video, but you need to keep in mind, one of the first ingredients in this bar is cocoa butter. This is a chocolate bar, or candy bar if you're American. This is still unhealthy. When you think about it, the regular chocolate bar is even worse than one of these. And they're fine to have from time to time. So wouldn't it be also okay to have an even healthier, if even still not healthy, product from time to time? Absolutely, yeah. You can still include these bad boys in your diet. I love protein bars because they're tasty, they hit that sweet tooth, and they're way more satiating than a regular chocolate bar, and they're really, really good for on the go. If you're in a rush, you can't just go to the shop and buy 100 grams of cooked chicken breast. Maybe you can. I can't. I don't have any shops like that nearby. I can buy a protein bar. So I will continue to glaze protein bars, but don't be fooled into thinking that they're particularly healthy, because they are not. Well, it would be great to do an outro where I eat this protein bar, but I did already have one today. And as I'm saying, moderation, you guys.